Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the penultimate round of the CIL Formula C Series. We're back after a week off for Thanksgiving. I'm Matthew Nordberg. Joining me up in the booth for tonight's race this evening is Keith Brubaker. We're in for a great race tonight here at the Midwest Grand Prix at Road America. Currently 81 degrees Fahrenheit on track, 51% humidity, overcast skies in the area today at Elkhart Lake. Keith, it's going to be a really fun race to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of drafting down that long front stretch, as well as that stretch down to turn 4.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I would argue, outside of Spa, this is probably one of the most favorite road tracks on iRacing as a whole. It's a very fast, windy, just relatively, honestly, easy track to run if you understand the corners. And like you were saying, it's drafting. So it's going to be opportunities for overtaking, opportunities just to stay behind each other. So, yes, you got to be in tune with your car for turns, but you also have to be in tune with your cars at driving at top speeds. We're going to get to see some of those top speeds tonight, especially as these cars are coming out and get ready to qualify.
For sure, as qualifying has just begun here at Road America, 3.98-mile track around this track. 14 corners. A very unique track, a lot of right-hand corners, but that provides a lot of great opportunities for overtaking, and I think almost every corner around this track is going to be a fantastic spot to overtake.
Yeah, indeed it is, and I mean, again, it's you got to make sure you hit your marks, especially on this track, because you can overtake going through corners. It's a relatively large track that I've noticed, and you do have those fast corners that you got to rely on your downforce, but hitting your braking points is everything. As is most tracks, but even more crucial here, as we're getting to see everyone bunching up, getting ready for qualifying. So I'm going to be very curious to see, especially these Ball State guys, as a couple of drivers tonight. Are they going to bunch up and use each other's slipstreams, or are they just going to be on their own?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. I think qualifying is going to be so important here. We've seen what can happen at other drafting tracks as well. If you don't get a good time, you can kind of lose that lead pack and really fall back behind, as we see our student champion, Muhammad Alif here in that 12 car from Ball State University, making his way through the outlap. Right in front of him, that's one of his Ball State teammates, and I believe that is Bradley Skinker right in front of him. So looking to use that Ball State connection there to use a little bit of a draft, get a little bit of front, or an extra couple miles an hour down the straightaway, is right behind the 12 car. That's Thomas Toomey, the 166 out of the University of Virginia.
Yeah, Nikki was saying that draft is going to be crucial here, as it looks like Thomas is very much taken on the slipstream here as we're getting ready to go into that front straight. That corner right there is very tricky, so it's going to be interesting. Let's jump on board with our student champion here, Muhammad Alif, as we're going down this front straight. Coming into this first turn, you want to take it as fast as possible and eat that curve. So in these cars, I believe you're going to shift down between your third and fourth gear, depending on how late you brake. You want to focus about the second cone right there. He's going to be on the brakes, slowing down. Take a little bit quicker than I was. So you want to take that curb, go wide. This next turn, you want to brake right about the 2 marker and get down, eat the curbing, go wide, out, and then continue eating all of that curb. It does look like there's a little bit of lap traffic, but it's not going to be factors. He's not on the optimal line, as the optimal line was where that lap traffic was. And then, again, being on top of your gas pedal here, and just continuing to go straight down. You want to start braking, if your tires are a good temperature, start braking about right there in the curb. You want to go inside, and then get right back on that throttle, go as wide as the concrete is right there, and that is good racing. I'll come up here, you want to slow down a little bit, eat the curb, and then go all the way wide, get back on that gas, continue to stand on that gas coming into this turn, and you can be full throttle through here. It does look like that slipstream we were talking about is coming into play here for Alif as he's catching up to his teammate. Going to slow down with that curbing, go wide, eat the curb again, get on full gas, and right here is an important factor of just, trusting your downforce, as this is a sweeping turn that you can be on full throttle, so, and you're going to want to go wide, maybe go into the curbing, maybe not, just depends on how you're feeling. The curbing is a little tricky, and then you're going to continue to stay on that gas, again, downforce, downforce, downforce. That does look like Alif is going to be getting that slipstream that we talked about from his teammate. And we're coming into a very hard braking zone. You want to brake at the 2 mark, shift down, eat that curb, and then you want to go wide out here, use all that concrete, and continue to drive here. I want to brake shortly after there to get a little bit of that gap, but continue on, shifting up, and then you want to brake right about there at the 1 marker. This is the last turn, so this is tricky. So again, you want to use all that curbing, be in 4th, and full throttle to the finish line.
Yeah, and you can see just how long this front straight goes on. Really, you can, take a sip of water, take a drink of coffee or something too, as our Muhammad Leaf sets the first lap time in qualifying is a 2:08.737, and I'm sure we're going to see those lap times come down in the next couple of laps as the tires get warmed up properly and all that. As we see Lucas Moody right there as we jump on board with him, he was sliding his way through turn 1. It is very easy though to go a little bit wide on the exit of some of these corners. Some of them are a bit blind, as Lucas Moody that goes very wide for Ball State University, so that lap time will not count.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That's exactly what I was telling you about that corner. That corner is very deceiving. I can tell you how many times, even when this was official at the beginning of this season, I could not make that turn. But you know what? You just got to be able to be on those brakes and trust them. As we're sitting on board with Toomey, he was getting some nice down of that force from the number 2 car of Bradley Skinker, and he's loving that, as it does look like this bunch is packing up. And one thing that's a little bit different with these cars than you've seen in like something like NASCAR, you do want that the downforce here and the slipstream, but you don't want to be sitting on top of them, as these cars do have those front wings and they're very sensitive. And we've seen in the past, Matt, that those front wings are super sensitive.
Yeah, for sure. As Thomas Toomey now on the straightaway coming up to the kink here is going to be tucked right underneath that rear wing of Bradley Skinker, hoping to get as much downforce as possible. Maybe a little bit of a block there almost from the number 2 car, but no contact there. But Thomas Toomey has the slipstream, and he's going to get up to the braking zone before Skinker is able to get ahead. But almost slides off into the gravel there, but does a great job to collect himself, that Cavalier from the University of Virginia. And the lap time is probably not going to be improved, and he's probably going to be a bit mad that the 2 cars holding him up now.
Yeah, indeed, and unfortunately with group qualifying, you really can't do much. You just got to be a better driver and be a little bit quicker. Maybe send a move that you would send in a race during qualifying, and that's a tricky thing with this. But you know what? Sometimes you got to take risks, especially if you want to be on the front. Taking risks are everything. Even in Formula 1, you see that. As we're currently sitting on board with Toomey, you're still getting that downdraft of the draft from the car in hub, but it does look like the Ball State car in front of him is starting to slip away from Toomey, but he is catching up. So this is going to be very interesting to see. Is Toomey going to be able to prove that time? He is sitting 4th on the standings by not very much, so he might be getting a little, like you were saying, Matt, a little, perturbed by the fact that he's got a slower car in front of him and he's fighting for position.
Yeah, for sure, as Cale Davidson from Ball State moves up into the 2nd spot on the timing tower right now. Still at the top is our Muhammad Leaf with a 2:08.737. Doesn't have any draft help out in front of him. Trying to drag his teammate of Bradley Skinker along right now, but Thomas Toomey doing his best to make the move past Skinker on track here. And one thing to note, only 12 minutes for qualifying. Really, you got to start your last lap by the time, or a little bit before the 10-minute mark. So this is the penultimate lap for some of these drivers, I believe. And you think, are you going to just let off the gas a little bit to build up that gap? As there goes the 2 cars spinning around before the entrance of the carousel. A little bit too heavy on the gas there, and he loses the rear end. So that's going to give Thomas Toomey all the chance in the world here to give himself some clean air and maybe get into the draft of our Muhammad Leaf in front and put in a quicker lap time.
Yeah, looking at these timing charts, though, I do want to point out 3rd place, Robert Kiesel Jr. He's been rather impressive this season, and he's right now currently taking that 3rd spot right now, and it's going to be interesting to watch. How does he handle Mr. Driving tonight? I know he has a little bit of struggles on some tracks like this, but it's going to be interesting just to see, is he going to be able to keep up that pace? And so far, I don't know if that's as much he's that good on this track, or if he just get a little lucky with that downdraft. So a few moments ago, we just saw the Wingate University car of Jake Cummings put himself up in 6th position, and that's going to be a very interesting battle as we are coming close to the end of the season. Yes, we may have crowned the ultimate, champion of the season. There are still points up for grabs for the alumni battle, and even 2nd and 3rd place. So it's going to be interesting to see how does someone like Thomas Toomey and Jake Cummings, which I believe are the 2 alums battling for a 1st position, how do they battle tonight?
Yeah, and speaking of Jake Cummings right now, currently sitting in the 7th spot here in qualifying out of Wingate University, the 007 car. Looks like a little bit of a spin from the car ahead. I think it's going to cost him a ton of lap time. Not sure if he can be able to get back to the line and start another flying lap before this qualifying session is up. But a handful of cars who did cross the line. I think Cale Davidson and or Robert Kiesel Jr. just improved their time. I saw the timing tower change a little bit there, and didn't change position, but did change their time.
Yeah, these times are going to be slowly coming in. Like Matt was saying earlier, we are getting to that point that if you're not out there, you need to get out there quickly. Like we have Jason Wallet and Charles Wembley and even Ethan DeClaire are currently sitting in the pit, so those guys need to be getting ready to get out there to set fast times. I know I was looking in a little bit of the pre-practice that the times have been all over the charts tonight, so we might see some good battles in the front, might see some good battles in the back, but still, qualifying is very important here, as especially going into that first turn, you want that out inside lane because it is a very tricky turn that if you can get that inside lane, you can be more likely to push a car off and get advantage of it. But we're still sitting on board 2. I mean, it does not look like he was able to improve his time much, even with that number 2 car not being in his way. So it's going to be interesting to see, is that his actual pace, or is he getting maybe a little bit of that downdraft from the car ahead of him?
Yeah, these cars, when they cross the line, they're on their final lap right now. They will not be able to complete another lap before the end of the qualifying session. So we have a little train of Muhammad Alif. We have Thomas Toomey, the second in line here, and then third in this line, I believe, is Robert Kiesel Jr. from Florida International University. As Toomey comes out of the final corner now, up this very, very unique hill on the front straightaway to finish out his final lap here in qualifying. And what's it going to be for Thomas Toomey, the University of Virginia? And it does not look like he was able to improve his lap time. I don't think he was close enough to Muhammad Alif in front to get the draft, and he'll have to settle for 4th in this qualifying session. We have a couple other drivers still trying to finish their laps now.
Yeah, we're sitting on board Cale Davison, who's currently sitting second, I believe, both in this race and also that point battle. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know I was curious last race, which was 2 weeks ago already. It's still crazy to think. But I was curious to see, is Muhammad Alif going to continue that dominance and to continue? So I wonder at this point, is that dominance going to continue? Or again, is Cale Davison going to get a chance? It does look like Cale did put their car into the pits, so looks like they're happy with second position, as we are currently sitting aboard their teammate from Ball State, Bradley Skinker, who's currently sitting in 5th, finishing off the lap. And we're just jumping over to our number 10 spot from Clemson University, Andrew Burrell, who may not be having the best time like he did the other night in the oval, as he just qualified for the championship race, but he still has some speed and does look like he'll be able to finish that lap. I was going to say it does have a chance, but maybe not.
Yeah, that's going to do it for qualifying here for the first of 2 races here at the Midwest Grand Prix for the Formula C Series. Your pole sitter, once again, Muhammad Alif from Ball State University, and his Ball State teammate of Cale Davidson on the outside just to his left. Robert Kiesel Jr. from Florida International will start 3rd, and Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia in 4th, and Bradley Skinker, the 3rd Ball State car in the field, will be 5th, with Lucas Moody, another Ball State car, in 6th. Jake Cummings from Wingate University will start 7th, and Jason Wallet from Drexel will start 8th for that school, and Ricky Pass from Valparaiso will start in the 9th position, and Andrew Burrell from Clemson University will be 10th in that 888 car. In 11th, it's Charles Wembley from Guilford College, and 12th will be Aiken Lamar from Howard Community College. 13th will be Alexander Diamond from Drexel University. 14th will be Athena Leclerc from St. Clair College. Ben Fiore from Marist College will be 15th. Ethan Decatur from Valparaiso will be 16th, and then a couple other cars did not set qualifying times. Mark Turek, Louis Diaz, and Nick Stockner will start at the back of the field for you tonight.
Yeah, this will be a rather interesting race, as we do see a lot of familiar names, but we also do see some names that are not normally in the back, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how some of these drivers handle from being in the back, as we are currently gridding up, so we should be starting shortly, as we're sitting right now with our pole sitter, Muhammad Alif, and his teammate right beside him. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of those two once again up front, as Robert Kiesel Jr. has been a nuisance to both those drivers this season. So I don't know about you, Matt, but it's going to be interesting to see this battle between these Ball States and this Florida National University car.
Absolutely, as our drivers only have a couple more moments here to get ready, about 15 seconds before the lights start, and I spoke a little too soon, as the lights come on now as we get ready to go green here at the Midwest Grand Prix for race 1 of 2 for the Formula C Series, and the lights are out quickly, and Muhammad Alif gets a great start away from the line. Looks like right behind him is going to be his teammate Cale Davidson tucking in right behind him as they stream down towards the first corner. It looks like a good start there from Robert Kiesel Jr. on the inside, trying to hold off Thomas Toomey going down into turn 1. They're going to play pretty nice here, maybe side by side, but they'll single file it out on exit. And Kiesel gets an opportunity to look to the inside of Cale Davidson, and will he make a move down into turns 2 and 3? I think he will, but no, he'll slide back into place to hold station in third.
Yeah, and right now is not the smart time to do any. He said, you see that Ball State car back there go wide. You don't want to send it right now, as your car is still not quite in the situation to be driving, and it does look like one of Florida International University cars of Luis Diaz is already out. So it may be an unfortunate start, but you know what? That doesn't mean we're still racing, as we have a heavy lockup.
Contact. Bradley Skeeter had a big lockup heading down into turn 5 there. I think he had a little bit of help from behind from his Ball State teammate of maybe Lucas Moody. We'll have to get a replay of that. It's up at the top of the hill there in this middle section of the track. It's chaos as we're 3 wide. Cars are locking up left, right, and center. But right now it looks like Charles Wembley is trying to make his way through the field right now. He's up from 11th to 6th on the first lap so far.
Yeah, and even that front battle is still sticking there, but we're still seeing some great driving. And I just want to point out that Charles Wembley, one of our latecomers, he's doing pretty well, and looks like people are starting to find their groove, which is exactly what you want to do in this first lap, as we are currently sitting on board with, I believe that's the number 10 car, so that is going to be
13 of Lucas Moody.
Lucas Moody, thank you. Yeah, Lucas Moody is starting to lead that pack, and Andrew Burrow behind is going to take advantage of that slipstream along with that bench pack. And there's a tap right there. My goodness, these guys are feisty already. We're only 1 lap in, man. I don't know about you, but I think some people are feisty for some points.
Yeah, and remember the top 10 invert after race 1 means if you finish 10th in race 1, you're going to be first in race 2, and that's what these drivers are fighting for right now. They're scrapping over the 10th position at the moment, 8th through 12th really, as right now it's Wingate University's Jake Cummings leading this battle at the moment. Behind him, a stream of cars. That's Jake Cummings, then Lucas Moody, Andrew Burrow, Ben Fiore, and then Athena Leclerc all the way back to 12th right now. But at the front of the field at the moment are Muhammad Alif. We saw him lead the field away. He's currently still in the lead, but he's got a couple cars behind him trying to take that lead away, including his Ball State teammate Cale Davidson, as well as Robert Kiesel Jr.
Yeah, like I was saying, it does look exactly like that battle is kind of happening like we expected. The Ball State drivers, yes, they're big teammates, but they're also defending from that, that Florida International University car behind of Robert Kiesel Jr. And even Thomas Toomey's probably loving that as he's catching up to this front pack of this battle. So the front pack is going to be battling, and I think going into this thing, I don't know if fuel situation is an issue tonight as it's been in the past, but I'm going to tell you right now, if I was in Robert Kiesel Jr.'s shoes right now, I'd be loving being in the slipstream because tires aren't going to be warming up as much, and the fuel's not going to be warmed up. And even Thomas Toomey back there, who's trailing behind, it's got to be a good time for those guys. They're not really battling; they're just kind of finding their rhythm. And a track like this, I would argue, of all the calendar, this is one of the more important tracks to find your rhythm, as it's a very fast, make sure you hit your braking point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there would be any corners around this track that I would classify as low speed. Maybe in the middle sector of the track you might have something low speed like, but really there's not really any points in this track. You're getting down to second or first gear in this car as we see Cale Davidson riding on board with him now, make his way through the kink, get right underneath that rear wing of our Muhammad Ali from Ball State, trying to maybe make a move on his teammate, but I think he's backing out of it just a little bit. And he knows that there's plenty of time in this race. 10-lap race here at Road America. We're only on lap 2 right now, so still more than enough time to get some overtaking moves done if you're patient.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, this is not a track that typically breeds chaos, but if a yellow flag comes out, that is probably going to be 4 or 5 of the laps. So right there, you just got to be smart right now, and maybe in the back of your head think, hey, I want a safety car. But who knows? We're still sitting on board with the battle back, and it does look like there's a little bit of battling behind as Jake Cummings does overtake the Ball State University car of Lucas Moody. But right here, we see it. Robert Kiesel Jr. is really thinking about it, and we're going to go into one of those fast, the harder braking zones of this track. You're still going in 4th or 5th gear going into there, so it's not really braking. As we're going 3 wide into the front straight, my goodness, these guys are feeling daring. As Jake Cummings did lose out in that battle, but he is, again, I wouldn't be too disappointed. We're kind of getting that situation. We're sitting on board now with Athena Leclerc, and she's getting challenged by one of the Ball State of Lucas Moody car behind, but looks like even Jake Cummings is going to go after Lucas Moody. Man, these battles are heating up, Matt.
Yeah, it's that drafting effect. Really, you're bringing this whole pack of the cars from 9th all the way down to 15th now into this battle, and we saw the 3 wide action from Athena Leclerc there, and she did a fantastic job as Lucas Moody looks to the inside of Jake Cummings now, and Ben Fiore goes to the inside of Andrew Burrell as well. Down in turn 5, a big lockup for Wingate. Contact, around goes Wingate University's Jake Cummings. I don't know if there was contact or if that was a self-initiated spin. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that, but all the cars do a very good job at avoiding action, and I don't think anybody else was caught up in that spin there, so unfortunate for Wingate, but the rest of those cars sure have one less car to worry about now.
Yeah, and I was gonna say a lot of those cars, it shows the respect they have for each other. They were all able to get out. Just unfortunate, that's a racing incident for Jake Cummings, I believe. But I'll be curious to see the replay what happened. But right now we gotta focus on. Oh, we're gonna jump to the replay real quick and let's see. Does he just outbrake himself? We're going in, and again, this is one of those faster corners. This is one of the harder braking zones on this track, and I can see why he locked up the brakes. We touched the curbing. Oh, yeah, he just locked the brakes. Unfortunately, trail braking in these cars is not the easiest thing to do, but it does look like he was able to recover and is sitting in 16th right now as we're on board with Lucas Moody, and I believe that's one of his teammates in front of him. So these battles are not stopping as Athena Leclerc just got passed by Mark Turek at Penn College of Technology. So it looks like they're going to go the Ball State car behind is going to go for it. It's so hard to track all this because it's just constant action. And but it looks like Athena Leclerc is going to have the advantage up this hill, but going into this first turn, anything is possible.
Yeah, and it seems like if you're at the front of the pack on one of these long straightaways, they're going to get passed by 2, 3, maybe even 4 cars. We've seen Nick Stockner making a move on Ben Fiore out of Marist College up in turn 1 right now, and the 124 of Nick Stockner from Clemson University is going to hold on to that 8th position, but will Ben Fiore and Marist College fight this one back down into turn 3? It looks like they can go side by side through the corner. Looks like the outside line is going to be held by Nick Stockner, and that might give him a good run down towards turn 5. But it looks like right behind him, the 225 car, Mark Turek in Penn College of Technology, is going to use that slipstream effect to his advantage and make his way past the 25 of Ben Fiore in Morris College, and maybe even more if he's going to pull out around the outside of Nick Stockner here. It looks like he won't. He'll just tuck in right behind that rear wing and hold station, move himself up one spot, try not to get too greedy.
Yeah, and it was very interesting watching him draft there, because it almost looked like we were doing a little bit of NASCAR racing with the bub draft, but does look like he ultimately did back off as we are now sitting on board with the guy in the back of that, Ben Fiore, and he is probably loving that slipstream from that 225 car. So and even right up front, that Nick Stockner is sitting there and just kind of like, what's going on behind me? He's probably loving the fact that they're battling, is he's going to be able to gain advantage of that. I think if I remember correctly, these cars are about a 1 second gap like DRS, so he's probably loving the fact that they're battling because he's going to get out of that air quote DRS range. But it does look like even behind there's some battles between that 2 car and I believe that's Athena Leclerc and Bradley Skinker battling it out. So it's going to be some good battling right here, as both of these drivers do have a tendency to go through. Like I was saying, Athena Leclerc is going to try to go for a move, but has the outside lane. But Bradley Skinker is still in the lead at the moment, but Athena Leclerc may have had the better exit as we are going into an inside turn here, as it doesn't look like these guys are still going at it. And Athena is still behind. What defending by Bradley Skinker?
Yeah, it's a very stout defense from the number 2 car right now, but ahead of them, they're losing touch just a little bit to the 3-car train of Stockner, Turek, and Fiore in front. And we know this long front straightaway really promotes close racing. It looks like Mark Turek's going to look to the outside here on Nicholas Stockner, going down into turn 1 from Penn College Technology, make the move around the outside. Or will Nick Stockner be able to defend? It looks like Nick Stockner does a very good job of holding onto that inside line, but we saw this last time around. That inside line heading down into turn 3 here is very difficult to get momentum off the corner, and as a result, you're going to lose tons of time down the straightaway. But Nick Stockner does a pretty decent job, it looks like, of trying to hold on the inside and carry as much momentum as possible, as now Nick Stockner is going to go 2 wide with Mark Turek, and Skinker's going to make it 3 wide. He's touching the grass. Ben Fiore looked like he wanted to make it 4 wide, but thought better of it as they head down into turn 5 now. The inside line belongs to Turek, but around the outside goes Nick Stockner, gets the move completed, or I should say holds on to the position from Mark Turek, because there's some great defensive action from the 124, and Ben Fiore right now still sitting back in 10th right now as these cars continue to scrap over these last points paying positions.
Yeah, and I mean that's 10th position right there. So that's the reverse grid. So there's what, a 5-car battle for that reverse grid. So things are gonna get heated, and these cars are probably at peak performance right now. As you see ascend from that Penn College of Technology's car, and it looks like the Mark Turek was not able to keep that position from Nick Stockner's. Does look like, oh, he went wide. Oh my gosh, what a mistake! But he was able to not make that a mistake, because he is still right on top of Stockner. And you can tell Stockner's feeling that pressure, and even that Mirror's car behind from Ben Fury is pushing pressure as the Penn College car is going to go on the inside, and it does look like Nick Stockner is probably going to lose that. Oh, what a lockup from Nick Stockner! But it looks like 2 cars are going to get passes. Unfortunate mistakes like that, especially in tracks like this, cause big moves like that. As now we have he's still battling, and there's a bunch of battling going on with that.
Yeah, Bradley Skinker kind of sent that one inside where Nick Stockner was alongside Ben Fiore, and it looks like Ben Fiore is going to try to take advantage. But here comes Athena Leclerc on the left or the right-hand side of Bradley Skinker, left-hand side of your screen, coming up the front straightaway once again. Athena Leclerc right underneath the rear wing of the Ball State University car. But Nick Stockner, he locked up the brakes, but he did a fantastic job of staying off the car. Oh, contact behind! Burl gets into the back of Lucas Moody, I believe, getting down to turn 1. I'm not sure if Moody broke early. What happened there? I saw a rear wing flying. It might not have been Moody because he's still driving. It might have been...
I think it was Aiken Lamar.
Aiken Lamar, you're right. It looked like a maroon and gold wing, so Aiken Lamar rear-ended by Andrew Burl, and that's going to end Lamar's race because a rear wing is deemed a critical component, some say. I think the engineers know a bit more about that. But back to the racing action, down to turn 5. That's Bradley Skinker from Ball State on the inside of Ben Fiore from Morris College. He's going to get that move done as Nick Stockner ahead is trying to put the pressure on Penn College of Technology's Mark Turek as they go side by side through turn 5 and single file it out before turn 6.
Yeah, these battlings are continuing, and that's what, I don't know, again, the fuel, especially when you're battling, fuel is definitely a concern, but again, I don't know what the setup is this week. I know it's the fixed setup, so I have not done any testing, but fuel could become a factor for some of these cars. They've been battling the entire race, and when you're battling, it eats up fuel a little bit more, so Skinker's probably feeling it, and jumping ahead a little bit, we got Charles Wembley, who's in a battle right now with Ricky Paz of Valparaiso University. We're going into that fast corner. We're being in the inside lane may not be the best, but we'll see, as it does look like Charles Wembley has lost out in that battle, but still standing on right top, as it does look like the Valparaiso car did have a little bit of issues coming out of it, and that Guilford College car is still right on top of him, and it looks like he's going to be able to get out of the way. As we're sitting on board Charles Wembley, you got to go wide there, and he's getting that slipstream. This is a great time to get that slipstream, as this is a very long straight, as Matt pointed out earlier, and it does look like Charles Wembley is going to take advantage, but who's going to be the first one on the brakes? We're going to see it shortly, as it does look like our timing sheets did say Ricky Paz did lose out in this, but not by much, as right here, maybe not being in that line is the best position, as it does look like Charles Wembley is going to possibly lose out for the speed, but man, these guys are like taking risks and sometimes paying off, and it does look like exactly what I thought happened. He didn't have the optimal line, and therefore, unfortunately, lost out in that position, but it does look like that Drexel car right behind is chomping at that bit and really wants that position.
Yeah, it looks like Charles Wembley there pulled a little bit of an over-under move as we see movement at the top of the timing tower. Caleb Davidson and Robert Kiesel Jr. going side by side. Oh, a bit of a late move there to dive to the inside from Charles Wembley to regain that 5th position from Guilford College. And these two have been fighting over this position for the last couple laps now, I believe. But going further towards the front of the field, Kiesel Jr. and Davidson going at it for the 3rd and 2nd spot at the moment. Trying to split up that Ball State 1-2 right now, the FIU driver is, as the 42 car makes his way through the carousel and is trying to use all that slipstream to his advantage as he makes his way down towards the kink right now. Ar Muhammad Leaf solidly in control of this race. He's probably happy that he's been able to break the tow distance of about a second from his teammate behind, as Kiesel Jr. is now side by side with Davidson. Are they going to be able to figure this out before they get to the braking zone for Canada Corner? And they will. Kiesel Jr., the number 42 car, is up in the 2nd spot right now. Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia has fallen off this pack just a little bit, about a second behind Caleb Davidson now, but I'm sure Caleb Davidson is going to want to be able to get back into this fight. As we see on your timing towers, Charles Wembley and Ricky Paz are now swapping positions back and forth. as that fight for the 5th position is heating up immensely between Valparaiso, Guilford College, and Drexel University. We'll have to see how that one plays out, as Mark Turek and Nick Stockner also swap positions right now. As you see Mark Turek and Nick Stockner drop down the timing tower. What has happened? Nick Stockner, it looks like cars are spinning in Canada Corner. There's chaos down here on the last part of the track. We see Nick Stockner missing his front wing, his nose cone. We see Bradley Skinker there, all out of whack, as his car doesn't even look like it's on all 4 tires. We have to get a replay of what happened there between Stockner and Turek.
Yeah, it's a very interesting look, as we're going to be jumping on board with this replay. Let's see what happens. So it looks like they're just kind of racing normal. Was it just a possible bad send by that Penn College Technology car? We'll see in a moment. It does look like that number 2 car is standing there. Oh, what a lockup by Stockner. And he just spun out Turek. And let's see what else happens. And it looks like Nick Stockner may have just hit the wall, unfortunately. And that's going to cause, we're going to be jumping on board with that Ball State car just to see what happened again. Let's see. They're driving and racing like normal. He just... that's unfortunate. That's going to be, I believe it's going to be fault for Nick Stockner. Unfortunately, that Ball State University car is going to have to retire, which happened earlier. Aiken Lamar is losing that back fin, and that's deemed a critical component for these cars. We're jumping right on board. We don't have time to not keep talking about it. We're seeing a battle here between Lucas Moody and Athena Leclerc, and these guys are just going at it. Charles Wimbley even is still in that battle. So I don't know about you, Matt, but I think we're going to have some very entertaining last 2 laps.
Yeah, that's for sure, as we have the 37 of Charles Wimbley from Guilford College leading this pack right now. Right now, this is the closest battle on track alongside Kiesel Jr. and Davidson, as well as Moody and Leclerc fighting for the 8th and 9th spot there. So, it looks like Valparaiso goes a little bit wide through the kink there. Not quite sure what happened there. That's typically a flat-out corner. Maybe the lack of downforce due to the dirty air affected Valparaiso somehow, but he's going to get alongside Guilford College's Charles Wimbley here. He's going to try to make a move around the outside of Canada Corner, and he'll end up in the kitty litter on the outside. That gravel is going to slow him down immensely there, and that's going to give Jason Wallet from Drexel University the opportunity to make a move for 5th. But speaking of making moves, we got a battle for the 2nd position right now between Davidson and Kiesel Jr. Down into turn 1, Davidson on the inside for that red and white Ball State car. He'll get the move done, or I should say defend his position up in the 2nd spot right now. Looks like our Muhammad Leaf has started to really fly away from the cars behind at the moment, as Kiesel Jr. is only going to have 2 more laps to make a move for the 2nd spot. Thomas Toomey now is getting brought back into this battle due to the fighting between the FIU and Ball State cars, so we'll see how that develops over the next 2 laps.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at this timing chart, as it does look like this is an unusual situation, but it's primarily students up in the top, all but Thomas Toomey. And speaking of students, there's Jason Wallet with that battle. It's going to be between him, Charles Wimbley, and Ricky Paz. These are all student battles right here, and I'd be curious to see. I think Wimbley might have a little bit of damage from that contact, so I wonder if he's going to be limping home, as Jason Wallet is going for the outside lane, is going to lose out, and it doesn't even look like Ricky Paz may have tried to go for it. And I see 3 wide coming up here in a short minute, as we're getting into some corners where you can do that, but he backs off, and it does look like Jason Wallet will be able to take advantage of a little mistake that was made by Charles Wimbley as he goes wide and is into the kitty litter again. But unfortunately, he does lose out in that Valparaiso car. Ricky Paz is now going to be taking that spot. And this battle is not ending for Jason Wallet, as he got that Valparaiso car right on top of him. And it does look like Ricky Paz may have lost out a little bit in that corner, but is still on top of him in that slipstream. So it's still a 3-way battle for that 5th position. And I think it's going to go to the very end, as we're getting into those fast sweeping corners. And it does look like possibly Aiken Lamar might be coming back out, as it does look like that damage was not terminal, so that's good for him. But we're kind of coming to the end, so anything is possible. But Matt, who do you think's going to take this battle we're watching right now?
I think it's all going to come down to who's in the slipstream on the last lap, and right now it's looking like that possibly could be either Ricky Paz or Jason Wallet. Whoever's in that 2nd spot, I think, is going to have the best chance, as it looks like we have 1 lap to go here, as the white flag's been taken by our leaders right now, as Ricky Paz has jumped out to a decent lead here, as there's been fighting between Jason Wallet and Charles Wimbley for the 6th spot. So Charles Wimbley has a 0.7 of a second advantage now for 5th going into the last lap. That might be too much to overcome for the Drexel and Guilford College cars behind, as Thomas Toomey up at the front is about to make a move for that last podium spot on Robert Kiesel Jr. The 166 has kind of been an afterthought in fourth for most of this race, but the fighting for the cars in front of him has allowed him to get back into this battle and make a late charge for the podium. 166 on the inside for the University of Virginia. He will get the move done on Robert Kiesel Jr. in turn 5, but there's still half a lap to go to hold on to that podium spot. Cale Davidson is about 7-8 tenths ahead now. He's going to solidify that second spot for a Ball State 1-2 unless something happens, but can Robert Kiesel Jr. fight back as Jason Wallet fights back on Guilford College?
Yeah, and this battle is going to continue to go down as we are coming towards the end of the track. And it does look like, unfortunately, Athena Leclerc is probably not going to... Jason Wallet, I'm sorry. Looks like Jason Wallet's going to probably lose out in this battle, unfortunately, as we are coming towards the end of this track. As we're getting those fast corners where anything is possible, and he is in that slipstream. So we'll see what happens. But looking ahead a little bit, it does look like Arm Honda Leaf will be taking their checkered flag shortly. As we're sitting on board Jason Wallet going through these fast corners we were speaking about earlier, that you've got to be right on top of that curb there, the side of exactly how Jason Wallet's doing it to get full advantage of it. And looks like that Ricky Paz is going to probably run away with this as we're sitting on board Thomas Toomey and that battle between him and Kiesel Jr. as it does look like Toomey was able to get ahead, but we are coming into the last turn here. Yeah, this is the last turn, and here on board who's going to be our winner. Muhammad Alif going up the front straight. And it does look like Ricky Paz back there is able to take advantage of a mistake of Charles Wembley as Muhammad Alif does take first position, Cale Davison takes second, and Toomey is going to be our third sitter on that podium. So jumping back on this battle we were talking about earlier, they are fighting till the end, going into the last turn. So Ricky Paz is going to throw it around, and we're going to see what happens as it does look like Jason Wallet is going to take advantage of a mistake that Charles Wembley made going up this last hill. It does look like we're going to have Jason Wallet is going to maybe... Ooh, that's a photo finish. I think Jason Wallet may have taken that.
Jason Wallet, by 18 thousandths of a second, is able to edge out over Charles Wembley of Guilford College to take home that 6th position right now. Further behind, the battle has kind of cooled off a little bit as Athena Leclerc comes home in 8th for St. Clair College. Bid Fiore in 9th for Mars College. Lucas Moody will round out your top 10 in the 10th position, and as a result of that, Lucas Moody from Ball State University is going to be starting on pole position for race 2 of the evening, and that's due to the top 10 invert after race 1. Outside the points, Jake Cummings from Wingate had a spin earlier on, could not recover to the points. Penn College of Technology's Mark Turek also involved in an incident outside the points. Andrew Burrell and Nick Stockter come home in 13th and 14th for Clemson University as they continue to make their way around the track. Now as they see Nick Stockter cross the line, missing a nose cone. Apparently that's not a black and orange flag. I would have thought it would be a black and orange flag. It seems like a critical part, not only for aero and downforce, but also for safety. That front nose cone oftentimes is a crash structure to kind of absorb all the blows that a driver might take in a frontal impact. But still on the track right now, Drexel University's Alexander Diamond also about to cross the line. And then Aiken Lamar, he'll be a lap down after losing his rear wing in some incidental contact in turn 1. The rear wing went flying across the track. It was pretty spectacular, but I'm sure Aiken Lamar is not happy about losing that rear wing.
Yeah, if I were him, I would be either. It does look like he's just weaving through just to be happy to finish that race, and that's it. I'm gonna be. You said Jason Wallet won that battle. I would love to see if we get those timing charts up. I want to see what that gap was because that was some insane battling going up that front straight.
Yeah, now we have a couple minutes to reflect on that first race, so it'll be interesting to see how these drivers use this time to cool down, warm up, depending on how their first race went. Super exciting first race, maybe a little bit tame at the front of the pack, but super exciting racing up and down the pack just because we have so many long straightaways around here at Road America that it really brings you back into the fight if you kind of lost out a little bit on the middle, more technical sectors.
Yeah, indeed, and again, you saw that race, you saw how important it was being in the slipstream, especially right there at the end, coming up that front straight. It's going to be important to being on top of each other. I mean, I saw some, I would even argue, bump drafting, which is not typical in this series coming through here. So it's important to stay within slipstream. I mean, you even saw it happen to, unfortunately, Aiken Lamar there. He wasn't in the slipstream, and he just kind of lost that pack, which you don't typically see that in this type of racing. But this track is important about that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be super interesting to see how this track plays into the top 10 invert because you have such long straightaways. We kind of got an idea of what it would be like earlier on in the season when we went to a track like Watkins Glen, where the draft is also very strong. There you have that long straightaway out of the S's into the carousel. So be on the lookout for maybe some excuse me, some unique podium finishes tonight, depending on the chaos that happens on lap one. You never know what's going to happen when you have fast guys trying to make their way through. They could be a little too aggressive. They could be maybe a little too passive when they lose the draft. But we'll see. It's going to be another 10 laps in race 2, another about 20 or so minutes. So it'll be a fun one to watch for sure.
Indeed, and it's always very interesting watching somebody like Muhammad Ali start from that back position, and just it always blows me away how fast that guy can get up front. Like every race, he somehow manages to start in 10th and get up to first. So I'm very excited to see a very fast track, somebody as skilled as him to make it up there, and even battling with who is the pole sitter? That's what I want to know is who got pole. I'm going to be curious to see, is it somebody that may not be familiar with pole? Because I know, like last week, we had Aiken Lamar up there in second. I know for a fact that was one of the first times he sat up on the front straight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, for sure. As we are about halfway through our little warm-up session now, a couple drivers out there right now. Ben Fiore on track at the moment. Had a pretty decent first race. I think the chaos of a couple spins in front of him kind of put him off his groove a little bit, but still did a good job to come home. And I believe he was about 7th or 8th. I'll have to double check that, but still a very good result, a very solid race for the Mars College driver. Another driver on track right now as well. Alexander Diamond, not the greatest race from him. I think he would have preferred to be closer to the front. I think he finished further back in the pack, but the Drexel University driver, he's had some speed this season, and I'm sure he wants to show it. So be on the lookout for the 04-9 to move his way up through the field.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, that's what Alexander Diamond has had speed, and he's definitely showed sparks of brilliance. So there's a possibility we might see some of that sparks of brilliance. As you know what, we're coming down to that crack. Some people may not be able to make it next week, as I know I've heard from some of our the students in here that finals are next week already for them. So some of the drivers may not be able to race next week. So this might be their last race. I know personally my finals aren't for a couple of weeks, but still, we are getting to that season where finals are kicking in. Your focus, especially in a league like this, as your student, should be your finals. So this might be some of these guys' last races. So I'll be interested to see, do some of these guys maybe send it a little harder than they would any other race, just because they know this is the last chance at points.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that these drivers are going to be giving it everything they got here in the second race tonight. This is a great track. Obviously, we have a great track next week in the Red Bull Ring. So expect to see some furious fighting and some furious defending. And honestly, if it's their last race, some of them might think, checkers or wreckers. Excuse me, checkers or wreckers at this point. You want to get a really good finish and put on your on the side of your car. You want to put that on your racing resume. So expect to see some really good action here tonight in the second of 2 races. It's going to be a fun one as always. 10 laps around here. So as we look on board with Ben Fiore out of Mars College going underneath the Sargento Cheese Bridge, an icon around here at Road America.
Yeah, indeed it is. We are in Wisconsin, so the cheese up there is very good. I've actually gotten to try it, so cheese is good as there. But yeah, these guys are going to be getting ready to grid up here momentarily as the warm-up session, if you call it warm-up, cool-down, whoever you are, it just came to an end. So we're going to be shortly seeing these guys line up on the grid as kind of getting ready to get back into that zone. I know up here in the booth, we both have to kind of get back in that zone. So here we go as we're getting ready to get that grid.
Yeah, looking at the grid for race 2 of the evening, it's Lucas Moody from Ball State University on pole position, and Ben Fiore came home in 9th. Will start 2nd here in race 2. Athena Leclerc from St. Clair College will be 3rd. And 4th, it's Charles Wembley out of Guilford College. Jason Wallet from Drexel will start 5th, and Ricky Pass from Valparaiso in 6th. Robert Kiesel Jr. from Florida International came home in 4th in race 1. Will start 7th in race 2. Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia will start in 8th after just clinching that last podium position at the end of race 1. And then Cale Davidson and R. Muhammad Leaf will start 9th and 10th for Ball State University after finishing 2nd and 1st respectively in race 1.
Yeah, we're just sitting on board with our new sitters. It's going to be interesting. Lucas Moody has seen this front row not maybe all the way up front, but has seen the front row second position to their teammate. So it's going to be very interesting to see how do they get in the start, as we do have the lights, and here we go. It's going to be 5 red lights. Get ready to go. And lights out, and here we go, baby, as Lucas Moody had a pretty good start, but it does look like Ben Fury may have had the better start, but it does maybe not, as Ben Fury is sitting right behind Lucas Moody, and these battles are about to commence. Going into the first turn, they got to be a little bit more careful right now, as the fuel load is high and those brakes aren't as warm, as it does look like Lucas Moody was able to defend against that number 25 car, Ben Fury, and even behind there's some battling, as we're sitting on board Robert Kiesel Jr.'s car, and he's sitting in a pack as the battles are starting to just commence, as this is lap 1.
Yeah, side by side for the back of the pack, it's Ricky Paz and Thomas Toomey. Those two had contact earlier on in the season down at Circuit of the Americas. Can they avoid contact this time here at Road America, as Thomas Toomey's on the outside going down into turn 5, and right behind them that's R. Muhammad Alif, as Thomas Toomey goes a little bit wide for the University of Virginia, but up they come in turn 6 here. It's a bit of a blind left-hander, and R. Muhammad Alif is going to have the inside line on Thomas Toomey. He'll get the move done and move himself up one more spot into the 7th position for the Ball State driver, as Thomas Toomey is looking to tuck in behind him and use R. Muhammad Alif as a bit of a wedge to make his way through the field, following behind that 12 car.
Yeah, Thomas Toomey is looking for a little bit of revenge from that last race. He is sitting right behind right now this battle with Ricky Paz and that Ball State University of Muhammad Alif, and that battle, it still amazes me how talented Muhammad Alif is, and he just got through that, and it wasn't even a big battle, as Thomas Toomey's going to take advantage of a mistake that probably was done by Muhammad Alif, and looks like Toomey is going to be ahead right now, as Ricky Paz is still battling right there, and even looking behind, these guys are enjoying that slipstream. There's battling all over the track, and we're still sitting with Toomey, and he is still holding back our current. That's Ball State University's Cale Davison, not Muhammad Alif. Muhammad Alif got ahead of him, so it's going to be interesting as we go up the front straight. Where being behind a car right here is crucial. As Ricky Paz makes a mistake back there. A couple of cars are going wide back there. As we're sitting on board with the car, the number 13 car of Lucas Moody going in the first turn.
Yeah, Lucas Moody using that slipstream to its full effect down this front straightaway. It looks like he's going to look to the inside here on Ben Fiore. Can Lucas Moody reclaim the lead for Ball State after starting there on pole position? It looks like he gets a good exit, but Ben Fiore is going to fight this one back around the outside here, down into turn 3, and Ben Fiore is a little bit wide there. It looks like Athena Leclerc is going to try to sneak in. It looks like Ben Fiore a little off the track, and look at that. I believe that was the 37 of Charles Wembley, who looked around the outside and almost made a move off the track there. But he's got side-by-side action for the lead right now between Athena Leclerc and Lucas Moody down into turn 5. That's Leclerc in the 61 car, Moody in the 13 car, and Leclerc is going to take the lead from Ball State as we go 3 wide behind with Kiesel Jr., R. Muhammad Alif, and the Guilford College car of Charles Wembley.
Yeah, this battling, I think this is actually one of the first times Athena Leclerc has been leading, so I'm being very curious to see, does she fall to that pressure? As we're sitting in Robert Kiesel Jr. and Charles Wembley battle, as it does even look like that 25 car behind is going to be battling out, as R. Muhammad Alif is still in a bunch of battles here, and Thomas Toomey is still just kind of following along, letting it go down, as we still have so much action going on, even behind there, as just seems like action's going to happen along this track, as we're still sitting on board with, we're now sitting on board with Ben Fury, as there's a lockup behind, and there's a car that went way off.
Leclerc. Yeah, Athena Leclerc way off the track there on the exit of the carousel. Not sure if there's contact or if there was just a self-inflicted injury there from the St. Clair driver. We'll have to get a replay of that when the chaos up front calms down. But right now, R. Muhammad Alif was able to successfully get past Ben Fiore. Thomas Toomey now trying to do the same as Athena Leclerc goes off the track again. There might be something wrong with her car, given that's twice now she's left the track.
Yeah, so I'd be very curious to see if we can get a replay later and see what happened. There's a little bit of brake dust up front, so here we go as the replay as Athena Leclerc is currently leading, going through the fast corners, and let's see, she goes wide, she's on the right line, Ooh, she just hit the curb wrong and probably was on the brake, so.
Yeah, just dipped a tire over the curb into the grass, lost all grip on that rear wheel. just sent the car around, and as a result, she's dropped from first to 12th in one lap. But we got plenty of action at the front of the pack here, as Robert Kiesel Jr. has gotten by Charles Wembley for the second spot right now, and Kiesel Jr. is going to set his eyes on the prize right now with Lucas Moody and Ball State University trying to get that FIU car up onto the top step of the podium. 2/10 is the gap as they enter the front, or this kind of back straightaway. How will it close as they get towards turn 5 right now? The 42 car on the inside of the number 13 of Lucas Moody as they head down to the corner. Who's going to brake later? It looks like Kiesel Jr. a little bit earlier in the brakes, but as they get down to the apex of the corner, it looks like Kiesel Jr. does a very good job of trailing off and getting that car stopped in time for Robert Kiesel Jr. now up into the lead.
Looking back here a little bit as this battle is commencing, it does look like we have some unfortunate outs. Looks like Jake Cummings is out, so it's unfortunate for him for that battle position. But looking at battle positions, our Muhammad Alif is still in 4th position, so these battles are holding him back. As it does look like his Ball State teammate is not going to be able to help him out right now, as his Ball State teammate is currently battling for the lead, and we're sitting on 4th. I'm going to have our Muhammad Alif right now sitting behind Charles Wembley, who, again, I still think is one of the more impressive drivers we've had in this season. They came in a little bit late. But the battle up front, it does look like Kiesel Jr. is starting to find a nice gap as our Muhammad Alif just tried to send it a little bit harder on Charles Wembley, but was unable to. And this battle here is commencing, as it does look like our Muhammad Alif has been able to find that fresh air and was able to take advantage of a mistake possibly by Charles Wembley. And it does even look like that 25 car right behind him is going to be continuing to battle. But it does look like Kiesel Jr. is starting to find that rhythm, as it does look like Charles Wembley is currently battling with Ben Fury, and he just can't get a break as our leader goes a little wide, but the Ball State cars are now together, so it's only a matter of time, I think, until we see those 2 cars possibly win the lead.
Yeah, we'll have to see what those Ball State cars do now that they're together, but Thomas Toomey wants to stay to that rear wing of our Muhammad Alif. He's got to get past a couple cars now to do so, as Lucas Moody is making a move to the inside for the lead, but can't quite get there, as it looks like Robert Kiesel Jr. will hold on to the lead for the moment. Thomas Toomey was able to get past Ben Fury down into turn 1 and now sets his sights on Charles Wembley. Further down in the pack right now, Athena Leclerc has just made a move on Ricky Paz for the 10th position for that last points paying spot right now. As they head down this backstretch here, the gap, about 2/10 between the Ball State teammates and 3/10 between Lucas Moody and Kiesel Jr.
Yeah, and if this battle is going to continue, those Ball State drivers, it does look like that Ball State driver, that's Lucas Moody, is going to send it in on Robert Kiesel Jr. Kiesel Jr. may have closed it right. It even looks like our Muhammad Alif is going to try to take advantage, as Kiesel Jr. is now going to have to battle from 2 Ball State drivers. Our Muhammad Alif has taken advantage, and it does look like Lucas Moody is falling back. Wonder what happened there. Is
Lucas Moody off the track there.
So unfortunately for Lucas Moody, as he went off the track, and does look like our Muhammad Alif has taken the lead, but Kiesel Jr. is going to take it right back as we are going through some of the more fun sections I've ever taken. Even Charles Wembley and Thomas Toomey are having a good battle with each other right now as we're going into those fast, widening corners where if you're gonna be taking it full speed. If you're not on that full throttle, you're gonna lose out. And it does look like our Muhammad Alif is still not in the lead, as we are currently sitting on board with that battle between Toomey and Ben Fury even now. And it does look like it's gonna commence. And going up that front straight, I think that unfortunately Toomey's gonna lose. And our Muhammad Alif does take the lead.
Yeah, our Muhammad Alif there with a good move on Robert Kiesel Jr. Tried to make it a couple corners earlier, but could not get it to stick. And how about Thomas Toomey making the move for 3rd position around the outside of the kink, coming down the back straightaway. A great move from the University of Virginia driver to stick it around the outside, as I think this battle is only going to heat up now, because really you still have this draft effect, keeping this top 4, top 5 all together unless a mistake is made by one of these drivers. So I think Kiesel Jr. is still in this fight, as we've just now crossed the halfway point in this race. Looks like Kiesel Jr. is going to have to look outside as our Muhammad Alif starts to defend the inside line.
Yeah, and even looking behind there, Thomas Toomey is right on top of Kiesel Jr.'s back wing. As this battle, I don't think our Muhammad Alif is going to have as much of his typical runaway here. It looks like these guys are going to be standing on top of each other, and this is the racing I like to see, respectful, fast racing, and they're literally bump drafting each other essentially. So, and even Ben Fury back there of Morris College is very involved in this battle, as it does look like our Muhammad Alif is going to try to be sent from the inside by Kiesel Jr. And that 166 car of Thomas Toomey is still in the battle. He slid into that corner, but was able to save himself. And even looking by, there's a spin from behind. I believe that's the number 12 car of Lucas Moody. Oh my goodness, he joins the track and almost takes out somebody on the track. That's unfortunately going to be an unsafe rejoin.
Yeah, Lucas Moody spun right on the racing line on the exit of the corner, and he tried to turn that car around. Almost took out his teammate there. There's a bit of a spin. Was that Art Muhammad Leaf? Art Muhammad Leaf just spun from the lead of this race.
Wow.
A rare mistake from Art Muhammad Leaf out of Ball State University has relinquished the lead to Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia. That's not something you see very often from the number 12 car. We're going to have to get a replay of what happened there to Art Muhammad Leaf. Looks like he was getting ready to head into the carousel section of the track and maybe just got a little bit too happy on the loud pedal exiting the corner.
Oh, yeah, I think exactly what happened there. And that was great, the avoidance there of that car that just drove out. I believe that was Kiesel Jr. So it's unfortunate for Art Muhammad Leaf. I think that is the first mistake I have seen from him. And we're going to be sitting on board here. He did take that curbing a little wide coming in, so he may have gotten him a little off focus. Let's see, it goes, takes the curbing. Oh, yeah, I think you were right, Matt. I think he was just on that throttle too much.
No, I mean, it looked like he was already super loose coming into the corner, so he might just have had a little bit too much entry speed, tried to carry the car, and just the rear tires would not grip. And as a result, Art Muhammad Leaf dropped down from 1st to 8th. It's going to be very, very difficult for the Ball State driver to catch himself back up to the podium now, as right now, at the front of the pack, it's University of Virginia's Thomas Toomey defending from Ben Fiore. Charles Wembley in 3rd for Guilford College at the moment. Robert Kiesel Jr., he was fighting for the lead earlier as well. I think he had to take some evasive action to avoid the spun Art Muhammad Leaf on the outside of the track, and that cost him some time. But they're all still within drafting range of each other, so expect these cars in 3rd through 5th to really catch up to the back of the leaders. And look at that, Cale Davidson from Ball State University has found himself back up in 5th after dropping down or maybe not keeping up with some of the other drivers who were making their way through the field at the start of this race.
Yeah, indeed. It's unfortunate for Fury, or Kiesel Jr., I'm sorry for that little mistake that wasn't on him. He was an innocent bystander, but looking on board, I would not be surprised if Toomey's going to start running away. And like I said, we're sitting on board with Robert Kiesel Jr. right now, who's currently battling with Charles Wembley, and it's going to take the inside lane. We'll see if Wembley is going to go for that inside-out move, as he is known for. And you were saying the Ball State University car is still within this battle, and Kiesel Jr. is going to be able to win that battle going into the fast turns, and it does look like the Ball State car is going to be battling behind. But what I was going to say before is it does look like the University of Virginia's Thomas Toomey is going to be kind of comfortable and going to be driving away with it. But even we're kind of getting to that point where you're starting to find your rhythm and starting to find that flow. So you're more worried about battles on track right now, as it does look like jumping ahead to that battle up front a little bit. It does look like that 25 car Ben Fiore. Oh, made a mistake. He was right on top. So Robert Kiesel Jr. is maybe going to take advantage of that mistake of the off track and is going to catch this front battle. And it does look like even there's battling behind between Charles Wembley and that Ball State University car of Cale Davison. So these battles, you may think our champion making a mistake is going to end battles. It is not, as this track is very important. We're going down that front straight, and Matt, do you think is 42 cars going to take the win here?
It's going to be tough to catch back up to Thomas Toomey, as Robert Kiesel Jr. has been able to make his way past, or he's trying to make his way past, I should say, Ben Fiore, making the move around the outside for Florida International right there. Good move to move himself up in a second, but the gap at 1.5, 1.6 seconds between Toomey and Kiesel, it's going to be very, very difficult to make up that gap without the draft. And I think it's possible Kiesel Jr. does have the raw pace, obviously a little bit faster in qualifying compared to Thomas Toomey. But race pace is very different than qualifying pace, so I don't want to say it's going to take a miracle to catch up to Thomas Toomey from this gap, but he's going to have to really put that foot to the floor and find a couple extra tenths here and there.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that's what I asked when Josh was here the other week, who thinks the driver of the day was. And I'm going to tell you right now, with the way Kiesel is driving, I think he could be our driver of the day. And I think, honestly, if he keeps the foot to the floor like he has been, I think he could battle for that position. As I mean, we have even someone like Charles Wembley, who's currently sitting right behind the that car right in front of him, Ben Fiore. I think these guys have very possibilities of having a good battle for a three-way battle. I mean, even it does look like the Cale Davison is kind of sitting on top of him. So there's a very good battle right now brewing for 4th position that could end up, these guys could end up catching up to that 42 car straight ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure, and I think Muhammad Leaf currently 6.5 seconds back from the 5th position right now. It's going to be very tough for him to catch up to really near the podium in only a handful of laps. 2 seconds a lap over the rest of the field. Leaf is fast, but I don't think he has that sort of speed over the field tonight. So, an unfortunate mistake from our student champion, from Muhammad Leaf, but it just goes to show that really these guys are pushing, no matter how fast they are, they're all pushing flat out. And anyone can make a mistake if he just loses concentration for even a split second. As looks like Cale Davison is going to try to make a move here on Charles Wembley for the 4th spot. As they come up this front stretch now, Cale Davison trying to recover. He started 9th after finishing 2nd in race 1. So he wants to get up the field as much as he can. The gap between our first, 2nd place drivers, Virginia and Florida International, currently 1.8 seconds now. So Toomey extending that gap.
Yeah, like you were saying, I think you're right. It does look like Toomey's just kind of falling into his rhythm and getting ahead, as I don't think Kiesel Jean's going to be able to get front. My more curiosity is who's going to take this third battle here, as we've got this third battle. We do have Charles Wembley currently being challenged by Cale Davison going into things, and it's going to be interesting as we're getting into those last couple laps when I'm not sure what's going on with these Ball State drivers, but I wonder if these guys are going to maybe try to send it, as unfortunately it does look like this Ball State driver, Cale Davison, is the lead driver in it, so they might try to send it a little bit more, as normally our lead driver for Ball State's Muhammad Leaf, so they might feel the pressure that Muhammad Leaf has. But even looking ahead, it does look like Ben Fiore and Kiesel Jr. are battling it out for that position, the 2nd position, so we're getting to those times where I think little mistakes are going to be very much capitalized on, and we've got 3 to go, so anything's possible, Matt.
Yeah, for sure, as I think our drivers are kind of calming down for the moment, knowing that there's only a couple laps left. Maybe study the driver in front of you, figure out where's he weak, where are you strong relative to him, and figure out, like, is the best place to make my move in turn 1? Is it, turn 5? Is it Canada Corner? Speaking of Canada Corner, we see Ben Fiore. He's trying to make a move for the podium here down at Canada Corner. He's going to make a move around the outside, but looks like Robert Kiesel Jr. shuts that door, says, not today. You'll have to settle for 3rd, not 2nd, for the 25 car out of Morris College. But look how close he is to that rear wing of the 42 car coming down into the last corner now. He might try to make a move. Oh, contact between Morris and Florida International. And it looks like there's contact between Morris and, looks like that's Ball State now. That's your 4th and 5th place driver, Cale Davison, an innocent bystander there. He had nowhere to go. He was hugging that curb all the way through the final corner, and I think Ben Fiore just left him no room.
That's unfortunate. I think that's going to be some time taken off of him, unfortunately, as we're giving guys that replays. This was good, clean battling, and then I think what just happened was maybe Ben Fiore went for a spot that doesn't exist. Oh, that's netcode. That's unfortunate. I think that's an unfortunate situation. And Ben Fiore, I think, unfortunately, is going to get penalized for netcode in that situation. But I think honestly, the loser of that battle is going to be Robert Kiesel Jr., as Kiesel Jr. is going to take loose spots. We're sitting on board one of the other innocent bystanders, Cale Davison. It does look like they made a pretty, they were going for a pretty clean move on Charles Wembley, as Wembley made a mistake, and unfortunately gets bumped, and that's the end of that battle for Cale Davison, unfortunately. And we're going to jump back on board. It does look like Kiesel Jr. was able to get that position back, as we're jumping right on board with a battle between Brady Skinker and Ben Fiore, as we're just looking ahead to see that Robert Kiesel Jr. is currently in battle with Charles Wembley, as we're getting right to being right towards the end of this race. So maybe Kiesel Jr. is going to get a dive bomb from the Charles Wembley cars. We're going around those fast corners.
Yeah, and I think the driver who loved to see all that chaos in his mirror is Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia. He is now scurried away from the cars behind. That gap was at 2 seconds, now at 4.2 seconds. So the gap very healthy for the Cavalier driver. So he's about to take the white flag next time by. So he just knows he has to keep the car on the track, and a win is assured for him tonight. A little further back, obviously these two, Kiesel Jr. and Charles Wembley, both fighting for that 2nd spot on the podium at the moment. But Keep an eye back there between Cale Davidson and R. Muhammad Alif. Those two are fighting for the 4th position at the moment, and can they catch up to get to the podium? As we saw Kiesel Jr. there make a mistake in Canada corner and get into the gravel. That's going to cost them a little bit of time. As they come to the final corner on the penultimate lap here, they're going to be taking the white flag this time.
Yeah, and this is all or anything at this point as we're going into that, like you said, it's penultimate lap, and this is a very fast downstraight. It does look like Kiesel Jr. is doing exactly what we should do and try to get that car here slipstream, but Wembley is not giving up, and Wembley's got the outside lane coming into this first turn. So let's see what happens as Charles Wembley is going to lose out in this battle, but the next turn also is one of those fast turns. Oh, and there's a wiggle from Kiesel Jr., so he went a little wide, and Wembley is going to probably take advantage of it as we're going into a faster turn, but Kiesel Jr. is staying on that throttle, so this is going to be some wheel-to-wheel action, and I don't know about you, but I still think Kiesel Jr. is going to win out in this battle as he has that pure pace versus Charles Wembley, as Wembley is staying behind. And looking back a little bit, Bradley Skinker of Ball State University went into the pit, so probably end of the night for Ball State driver. But looking back to where we're sitting, the Kiesel Jr. is probably going to take this battle away, and looking further ahead, it doesn't look like, unless Thomas Toomey makes a mistake, he is going to be your winner of this race tonight. As even behind this battle, we've got it looks like it's the Guildford University's College car of Charles Wembley, and so that's the battle we're looking at. It's Armand Leaf and Cale Davison, so teammates are battling in the back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, and one thing to note here, Keith, is that the gap was at 2.5 seconds at the start of this lap between 4th place Alif and 3rd place Charles Wembley. The gap now at 1.3 seconds, battling between Florida International and Guilford College, has really shrunk the gap between Guilford and Ball State. R. Muhammad Leaf might have his eyes on a podium finish after all here tonight. But right now at the front of the pack, it's Thomas Toomey. He's in the lead with a commanding 5.2 second lead here at Road America. As he about to round the final corner now, Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia is going to take race 2 here tonight. He had a great drive. He was able to keep his nose clean, and as a result, he'll take home that checkered flag for the University of Virginia. Overall win, as well as an alumni class win for the 166 car, as he comes across the line, weaving and swerving, and he does it for the University of Virginia. But further behind, there's still fights to be had, as Robert Kiesel Jr. comes home in 2nd. It's going to be Charles Wembley in 3rd, and Cale Davidson got past his Ball State teammate for the 4th position, and R. Muhammad Alif, after a rare mistake, will come home in 5th.
Yeah, and even looking back, we got Andrew Burrell. We're setting up right now. Ben Furied, who just came 6th. Andrew Burrell is going to be coming home. Oh, Lucas Media had a weird break there as they're coming in. And Valparez, Ricky Paz coming in. Drexel University's car is going to be next. Jason Watt. It does look like Aka Lamar is maybe battling with him a little bit. And then Ethan DeClaire for Valparez is currently battling with, I believe that's Jake Cummings' cars. He sends it in the inside, but I think Jake Cummings is a lap down, so it's not going to matter. So Ethan DeClaire is going to be our number 12 position, even though it does look like they're battling. And it does look like we got that Drexler car battling on Diamond right behind Jake Cummings. So these guys are going to unfortunately be a lap down. Man, I don't know about you, but I think race 2 was quite the race.
Yeah, we said at between the races that you got to watch out for any weird podium finishes, any interesting drivers, any top drivers who maybe make a mistake or get caught in accidents on that first lap. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw drivers such as Lucas Moody. We saw him get caught in an accident. Athena Leclerc, who was leading at one point, was made a mistake and went off the track. So Thomas Toomey, your winner here in race 2, did a fantastic job at really keeping his nose clean. He started back in the 8th position, so he had to fight his way through the pack, and certainly showed his racecraft out there.
Indeed, he did, and I'm honestly super stoked to talk to Thomas Toomey tonight. He had a little bit of a rough first race with all that traffic, but was able to run away with it. Even again, I don't know about you, Matt, but I still think Robert Kiesel Jr. has to be my driver of the day. He had a fantastic race 1 and an even better race 2.
Yeah, for sure, as Thomas Toomey is rounding the final corner now. Probably about to do some victory donuts on that front straightaway to give us, all us viewers, a bit of a treat.
Yeah, and indeed, and we'll be waiting here shortly. We're going to let him finish out his lap, and we're going to get an even better treat. We're going to be able to get to talk to him in a little bit here once he decides to park the car and come join us in the booth. But not sure about you, Matt, but I think I'm ready to bring up one of our drivers. How about you?
Yeah, as we see Thomas Toomey there doing donuts off in the runoff area. Maybe nobody told him the race was only 10 laps because he went ahead and did a whole 11th lap at full speed, I feel like. So Thomas
Yeah,
Toomey
he did.
celebrating his win, a well-earned win, and I'm sure we'll get to hear from him shortly. But we do want to hear from some of our other drivers here now. I think joining us in the booth right now, your driver who finished in third place, it's going to be Charles Wembley out of Guilford College. Charles, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, Charles, congratulations on the third place finish. It definitely was not an easy one out there as you had fights all the way throughout the race. Go ahead, walk us through kind of what happened there. We saw some chaos happen in front of you, and how were you avoiding those wrecks?
Yeah, it was just straight up nonstop action-packed racing. We each left each other. We each raced each other beyond the limit. This was extremely fun. To represent my school and to put them in this position is more than I could. It's awesome. Everybody raced with so much respect. Honestly, I just saw people. Eventually, when you get into these incidents, you're gonna see that. Sorry, I'm just so excited right now. Everyone was going wheel to wheel, and eventually, there's gonna be a mistake at some point. So I just anticipated every moment. And I'm just grateful we could put Guilford College in the spot.
So you were saying you guys are driving the limit. Going up that front straight, would you say going to that first turn, you guys were kind of pushing the limits a little bit? Or was it just, pure speed because of that, down the draft?
Yeah, it all came down to strategy on when we would make the move due to how powerful the draft is. Obviously, the first turn at Road America is very scary to go into, but knowing the racers that I've raced with them more and more, I began to trust them more. And the more trust you have with your competitors, the more you feel like you could go wheel to wheel with other people. So it was all about trust, and it was all about racing fair but hard. It's beyond awesome to be in this series. And first ever esports podium for Guilford College. Let's go.
Well, Charles, congratulations once again on the third place finish. It was definitely well earned, and it was fun to watch you from up here in the booth. Before we send you on your way this evening, your first time in the booth, so it is CIL tradition. We give you a chance to shout out or thank your who makes this possible for you. So, who makes this possible for you?
Obviously, mom and dad. Hi, mom. Hi, dad. Everybody that gives me advice, all my friends, everybody in the school. I'm so grateful to be doing this. Everyone has given me the green light to do what I love, and I'm excited to do this for much longer to come.
Well, awesome, Charles. Thank you once again for joining us up here in the booth. We hope to hear from you again sometime soon, man. Take it easy.
Likewise. Have a good night, guys.
And once again, now's our third place finisher in Charles Wembley out of Guilford College. A very, very good race from him tonight. Definitely excited to see a new face on the podium this evening.
Indeed. And you know who another new face we're going to see that might be not as new up to the position he was in, but a new face to second place tonight is going to be our second place driver, Robert Kiesel Jr.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Great, guys. It was. I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as we drivers did enjoy this. At least the second heat was intense. At least from my point of view. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but the heat 2 was wow. It was a great race with the guys up front.
Yeah, for sure, Robert. We saw you were in a lot of the action there in Heat 2. I think it was twice you were involved in incidents where you had to take avoiding action. I think first with R. Muhammad Alif, you had to go to the gravel to avoid him after he spun, and then I think later on, I believe it was with Ben Fiore, you guys had a little bit of contact. So after getting into incidents like that, you see kind of the car in front of you kind of scamper off in the distance. How do you recover from something like that?
Honestly, it was very difficult. I decided I had to put my head down today. Thomas was on the next level, so I was trying to just catch up to him, but could not do that. And then when Alif spun out in front of me, I tried to avoid that and slowly started getting back to pace. But I have to give props to Alif because by the end of the Heat 2, he was 2.5 seconds behind us, so or something in those regions. So I have to also give props to him because he had a tremendous recovery.
Awesome. Well, again, it's tradition out here. Is there anybody you want to shout out for letting you drive this car and bringing it into second place?
Of course, I wanted to thank FIU, obviously, for me being able to represent them. Obviously, all of my friends, Igor, Kubus, that are always watching, no matter the time in Europe, they're usually up, staying up late and watching me race. So, yeah, just the closest of my friends, and yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Well, awesome, Robert. It's great to see you up here in the booth. It was fun watching your race. A well-earned second place after getting through all the chaos tonight. But we hope to see you up here in the booth again sometime soon, man.
For sure, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your night today as well. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And once again, that was Robert Kiesel Jr., the 42 car out of Florida International University. Pretty chaotic race, but it was super fun watching him race, and he was always racing clean, always doing it the right way, and comes out of it with a well-earned second place.
Indeed, he did.
Yeah, but I think one driver we definitely want to hear from now, it's going to be our race winner. It's Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia. Thomas, you got a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thomas, congratulations on the race 2 win. It was definitely an interesting one from your perspective. I think early that first race you kind of hung back in the third, fourth position for a lot of the time, and then to come out on top in race 2, was that something you were expecting?
Not at all. I think that was just an element of opportunity. I got really lucky that I think fastest driver in the whole field made a mistake, so and the rest of the drivers kind of had to check up. But from where I was, I think in third or something like that, I didn't really have to lift much. It was a very clear path on the outside, so at that point I was kind of out of the draft from the pack behind, and I could feel the rest of the pack trying to push, but at that point it was just putting down consistent laps and not making mistakes to win.
So you were just saying it's consistent. I mean, was some of that driving, how much of that was luck? I know race 1 you were struggling with traffic. How much of being P1 tonight was luck, and how much of that was part of your strategy?
Entirely luck. I mean, I think the strategy was the same nonetheless, I guess, unless you kind of get into certain racing scenarios. I think the whole night it was interesting because people were picking whether or not to battle or not. I know at the end the second and third kind of split off, and that allowed me to catch back up after kind of battling and getting out of the draft. So yeah, you kind of see the racing get more intense at the end, but for me it was kind of just half the race of pushing at full pace, and at the end I think with 2 to go there was like a 2-second buffer, and then that started to grow, and the pressure kind of lessened, and yeah.
Well, Thomas, it was fun watching you race in both race 1 and race 2 tonight, but I think you know the drill by now. You've been up in the booth enough to know, but before we send you on your way this evening, anybody want to thank or shout out on the broadcast?
Yeah, I think just want to shout out to the whole field. Yeah, I think overall good racing. Thank you to CIO. I think this was a really good track and a good car, and I wasn't expecting that.
Awesome, Thomas. Well, we hope to see you up here in the booth again sometime soon, man.
Thank you. Yeah, take care.
And that was our race 2 winner, Thomas Toomey, out of the University of Virginia, representing the Cavaliers. A great second race out of him, and taking home an unexpected win.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that was he was saying. Sometimes luck is all you need. Even you see it in real life racing. If you get a good start, it can lead to things like that.
Yeah, for sure, and I think sometimes you have to have a little bit of luck on your side, and maybe the luck isn't necessarily where you think it's going to come from. I don't think any of us expected to see our Muhammad Alif make a mistake like we saw out of him tonight, just a self-spin, taking too much speed into the corner, and it can happen, so you blink, you lose concentration for 1-2 moments, and all of a sudden you realize that the rear end of the car is gone, and you're going around for a spin that you didn't expect.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, and that was the first time I've really seen Muhammad Alif make a mistake, which shows you just how class this field is. You see drivers that, somebody like Thomas Toomey, even he didn't really make mistakes in the first race and was able to capitalize on mistakes. So it's a very good field that little mistakes are going to get capitalized on. And as we're coming down to the wire, those mistakes can end up in the championship.
Yeah, for sure, and obviously our Muhammad Alif has already clinched the student championship, but obviously I'm not sure what the calculations are for the school championship, but if that's still in play, obviously points matter there, and either way, at this point in the season, for the individual standing, I'm sure he's not happy with himself, but he can live with it. Earlier on in the season, that could obviously be costly.
Yeah, indeed. Especially with the championship put away, he can. I mean, I know I've talked to him in the past. He's like, how do you recover from mistakes? He goes, you look at it, you realize you made a mistake, you learn from it, and move on. And especially if the championship is put away, he's probably got that mindset. But you know what? We can. If we got the results, I'd love to see where people ended up in the championship tonight.
Yeah, for sure. As we go back and take a look at our results from tonight's race, it's going to be as we get our results from tonight's race, they're still not showing up. Technical difficulties. Technical difficulties getting the results to show up as the page is showing up, but the drivers are not. But we can run through your top 5 real quick. Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia does a great job and is able to secure the win in race 2. As there we go, the results finally show up on our screen as Thomas Toomey out of UVA will come home in first. A great second race from him. Robert Kiesel Jr. out of Florida International comes home about 5 seconds behind him after avoiding some of the chaos and finishes in second. And Charles Wembley on his first podium in the CIL here finishes in third for Guilford College. A fantastic race from him, and he is able to secure that third place for his inaugural podium. And Cale Davidson and R. Muhammad Alif have, for them, what they would probably classify as poor nights in fourth and fifth, but just goes to show how competitive this league is and how competitive these drivers are, where they're probably not going to be too happy with a fourth and fifth given their caliber of skill. Fiore out of Mars College came home in sixth after getting into a little bit of contact in the closing stages with Robert Kiesel Jr. Andrew Burrell has a great second race to kind of sneak out of nowhere to finish in seventh for Clemson University. Lucas Moody started on pole in race 2. He will finish in eighth for Ball State. Ricky Paz will be ninth for Valparaiso. And then 10th, that last point-paying position, is Jason Wall out of Drexel University. Just missed out on it in the first race, was able to come home and take that point in race 2. Couple other drivers outside the points. Aiken Lamar from Howard Community College in 11th, and then in 12th is Ethan Decatur out of Valparaiso University. We had a couple drivers a couple laps down by the end of this race. Nick Stockner out of Clemson University will finish a lap down, as well as Bradley Skinker from Ball State. They'll finish 13th and 14th. Jake Cummings out of Wingate will finish in 15th, 2 laps down, alongside Alexander Diamond from Drexel, also 2 laps down in 16th. And Mark Turek and Athena Leclerc out of Penn College of Technology and St. Clair College, respectively, will come home in 17th and 18th, multiple laps down after retiring early on in this race.
Yeah, indeed, and that's was going to be. It's an interesting race as we are kind of getting to that point where, again, who knows who's all going to be here next week with finals being so close and looming, and even the holiday season kicking in. So this could be the last race for some of these guys. But I honestly, if I was not able to race next week, I would think that was a great way to end. And I don't know about you, Matt, but this race makes me more excited about next week just because of all the drivers and stuff like that.
For sure, Keith. And speaking of next week, be sure to tune in next week, Monday, same time, same place, to the CIL College Cup Series Championship race, the Championship 200. Our final 4 drivers have battled all season long to compete for the CIL crown. Who's going to come out on top? There's only one way to find out, so be sure to tune in Monday nights for that race. And if you're looking for the final race in the Formula C Championship, it's going to be the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. So be sure to tune in on Wednesdays nights at 9 p.m. to catch the last 2 races, last 2 sprint races of the season for the CIL Formula C Series. It's going to be just as exciting as this race was, and the Red Bull Ring is always super fun. It's a very short track, so lots of action to go on there. But that's going to do it for us here at the CIL. So thank you for tuning in to tonight's broadcast of the Formula C race. On behalf of everyone at the CIL, myself, as well as Keith up here in the booth, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to watch this production. And as always, be sure to tune in next weekend. Stay fast.
I feel that.